and welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your host, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, it is remarkably warm in here now.
Yeah, I had to turn the fan on before we got started recording because I was like, wow, it's a little... And normally we were just like, oh, God, it's a little chilly. I have to turn the fan off. You'll see me reaching for stuff in the background over here. It's like, it's surprisingly warm today.
So the reason I say that, do you have to manually shut off your AC and heaters and all that stuff?
No, mine's all electrical, so I just flip it over when I need to. Well, my gas is...
Same with ours. But I don't envy anybody who has that system set up where you have to turn off the ACs. Because this week...
Because it started getting really warm. Yeah. So moving on to it, everybody's turning on their air conditioners. Yeah, and then all of a sudden we had one cold snap.
We had and not just a cold snap. 4 or 5 days of cloud cover, below freezing.
Some areas got rain.
Like, such a weird time. And
then this weekend coming up, we're back to 90 degrees.
We're back to 90 degrees. But I will take this any day over the wind we've been having lately.
Oh my God, the wind has been brutal. My allergies, to the point where I got a sinus infection just recently. Got over that. I got on antibiotics. And I had a migraine today, this morning. It was ridiculous because of this wind.
Yep, exactly. No, it's been pretty wild.
Unpleasant.
That's
the best way to say it. Yeah. Unpleasant.
Yep. But let's get into today's episode. We are going to be talking about a compare and contrast between Ascension and Star Realms, both two very well-known deck builders.
Yeah.
But before we do, as always, we have our introductory segment, whatever we call it. Today, we're going to bring it back to the news. It's been a while since we've talked about the news.
Yeah, I think the reason last month, that's what I'm trying to say, episode didn't have news because we had a pre-recorded interview that we wanted to get into, and we just didn't want to bog it down. It was already a long enough interview. So we didn't want to bog it down with the news segment. So.
Exactly. So... Daniel, what news do you know about?
So of course we got to talk about the big one, and we're going to start it off with our podcast as well here, because why can't we can't be a board gaming podcast if we're not going to talk about what's going on in the state of the world right now, and the industry is a big thing. We got those massive tariffs. Most, if not all, games come out of China. I think the only one that I know for sure that doesn't produce in China is Queen Games. They produce in...
CGE produces in Europe as well.
Okay, CGE and Queen, but they also got hit with the tariffs. They're not as massive as the ones that are coming out of China.
Yep.
And so, honestly, I don't have a lot of information other than what everybody else can pick up. Yep. I am only someone that's sitting outside the industry, looking in. I'm a fan of the industry, as you can tell behind me here.
Yep.
The big thing about it, too, is this is really going to hurt those small publishers. You were lucky enough to have a small publisher publish 2 of your games. This can really hurt their bottom line. And there could be a lot of businesses going out, or publishers going out of business because of the way these tariffs work.
Yep.
If you want information from people on the inside, the best way to look up is seeing anything from Robert Geitzlager from Arcane Wonders.
I believe so.
G.A.M.E.R, Jamie Stegmaier has put up 2 fantastic articles of what publishers are having to deal with the tariffs, especially.
Yep.
The big thing about it is the chaos of the tariffs right now. They went from 10 to 20, now they're 54, I think, and then there's talks that it might go up another 50%.
Yep.
So it's just the industry is in a flux right now, and everybody's hurting. And the big thing is people are like, okay, well, why don't they manufacture here in America? Jamie Stegmaier has posted an article about that as well from the original increase of the tariffs, where he's talking about it's just not feasible for us to incorporate here in America as well because of the cost effective. Even with the tariffs, it's cheaper to go overseas because America still has to import most of the stuff you need.
Materials or machinery.
Or parts for machinery.
Yep.
So everything still has to be imported, and the cost gets pushed on the publishers, which then gets pushed on the distributor, which then gets pushed on the public. It's a never-ending vicious cycle in that aspect.
Yep.
But like I said, go check out G.A.M.E.R. He's got some fantastic articles about it on his website. Check out what Robert Geitzlager is talking about. Eric Martin from BGG has a few articles on Board Game Geek. Go check that out. Those are pretty good. Board Game Wire is another one that's been talking to a lot of people. So These are all resources that you can go check out to get the information from the inside. We're just two goons who talk about board games. You're a designer,
Yep.
so but you're not into the publishing part of it. You don't know
Right.
what they're going through. You're just trying to sell your games. But that's going to help hurt designers too,
Right.
especially small designers. Most games are going to be going to designers that they know. They're not going to be willing to take risks with these new up and coming designers because you just don't know what's going to sell.
Yep.
And now you can't take a risk on a small card game that normally would cost $20 could possibly end up costing $50 with all these tariffs.
Yep, exactly. The two things that I'll add to this and add to that point of article is I watch a lot of YouTube, of course, right? And there's a mathematician who broke down the average cost, and he broke down a couple different examples of various countries, right? And he compared New Zealand, and that was kind of like a good example. And he said that like on an average of like $100 bottle of wine, for example. This is Matt Parker, by the way. If you like math stuff, he's a great YouTube channel. He basically just said like, on average, because of the New Zealand tariff alone, that would increase it by approximately $10 to $18 or so.
Yeah.
So instead of it being a $100 bottle of wine, it would be about $110, $118 bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Now, he said across every average, across everything, that means that it's going to go up on average 10%. Like across the board.
Yeah.
That means that for every board game that's $50 is now $55 minimum. That's the likelihood of what we will see.
Yeah.
The other thing that I can bring in is that I know our good friend at Level 99, Brad, he's always told us about some of the math. And a lot of the publishers, the kind of industry standard is you sell your game for 5 times. The retail should be 5 times what it costs you to get it to you.
Yeah.
Now, with some exceptions, because shipping went up for a while, right? So that means that if it costs me $3 to buy or print the game in China, $2 to ship the game, over, of course, thousands, right? Then I'm looking at $5. That should be the MSRP. Should be a $25 card game, right?
Yeah.
And so if it costs me $10 to manufacture it and get it to me, then that means that I should be selling it at $50, right? And because when they sell to distributors and wholesale distributors, it's 50% of that generally.
Yeah.
But normally even a little less than that because then they have to account for storage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So like on a $50 board game, then that means that you're selling it for about $25, some about $20. Now, if that jumps up another 10%, then that means that that's another, like, let's say the cost for me to print it is $10. That's now $11. That should be a $55 game, or upwards to even a $60 game now with that difference.
Again, Stonemaier breaks the math down for everybody. It is rough. Yep. So here's some tips for everybody out there. While we don't know for sure what's going to happen or where it's going to happen, so these are some of the tips that I will give you. Play with what you have.
Yes.
You don't necessarily have to go out for the new hotness right now or back the most recent. It sucks saying this because I'm a big backer of Kickstarter too. It's going to be hard right now. So you don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how much it's going to cost to import it into America.
Yep.
And the thing is, when you're backing a crowdfunding thing, they don't charge you your shipping right away because they're not sure what's going to happen right away. So it's a whole thing is like, if you have that disposable income and you want to take that chance, then knock yourself out of the park. But play what you have. Go to your local FLGSs and see what they have in stock currently and pick that up if something is you really wanted to get played. Because there's a lot of games out there. We're not going to be really hurting for games. We're just not going to get a lot of the new hotness games that are out there right now that I really want to play. And I know you really want to play. But it's that thing is you got to be careful with how you spend your money. If you have the disposable income to eat that increase, go ahead and do it. But there's always a possibility where you can still get the things you want to get. It may just be somewhere later down the road. Look at resell. Look at like a place like Bookman's or Half Price Books or what is the other place that the one up in Denver? I forget what it's called.
Black and Red.
Black and Red. They have used games. Check them out. They're really good businesses. Look at the secondary market if it's not overly priced, and if there's a game that you wanted to pick up, check that out too. That's the best thing I can recommend for everybody. This is just going to be, we're going to have to ride this wave and see where it lands.
Yep. And I would recommend also, like, in addition to that, check out, like, the local, like, if you live here in the United States with us, right? There is a lot of publishers that are small companies. Mm-hmm. I'm talking that are owned by one or two people, right? Yeah. Maybe a handful of others. They are going to be hurting when it comes in from this point on. That doesn't mean that their existing stock is going to increase in sales.
Yeah.
If you want them to stay afloat, go support them now before it's too late.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we brought up Thing 12. They published 2 of my games.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't mean that my games have
Level
exceeded.
99 is another
That
one.
just makes it harder for them to reprint it on there. And especially if people aren't buying them, then that makes that even harder. Yeah. So go support those guys. Level 99, Fireside Games, Smirk and Dagger, they're not that small anymore.
Yeah,
but like they're all friends of the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, it's just money's going to be tight.
Solis Studios is another one.
Solis another was a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye out. Look for the ones that are not under the Asmodee umbrella, because Asmodee is going to pretty much protect a lot of their stuff.
Right.
So.
They're going to find a way, which is good. So, on to my piece of news. So, I wanted to talk about... there's one that I'm specifically talking about, but I also want to pick your brain on another part of it that's similar to this story. So, Ticket to Ride now is almost, how many years now? It is now 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
Yeah, 20 years as of last year, right?
Was it 2014?
Yeah, 2004 is when it came out. So, it's an older game, right? I guess, technically. And they announced that they're going to be doing kind of a new refreshed version. They don't know if they're going to change anything. They are going to change the art, more than likely. And it might be a second edition version of Ticket to Ride. Just to kind of bring it out from this point on. Days of Wonder has always made great games. The Ticket to Ride versions are all really cool. I don't know what all the changes are going to be. But that leads me to my question. Quacks of Quedlinburg also changed their cover recently.
In the name.
And the name, right?
It's just
They're
Quacks
changing it to Quacks. Which, don't get me wrong, I don't hate that name change.
I don't either. No one ever called it Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Yeah.
Unless you're...
I mean, I did, because...
Well, I always called it Quacks, unless we're talking about it in the top 8 debate.
That's true.
Like that.
Yeah, I like calling it Quacks of Quedlinburg because that just rolls off the tongue in a fun way.
Well, it's alliteration.
It is, exactly, and I enjoy that. But the new cover, I have thoughts.
I do too. Thoughts? We kind of discussed this on one more recent podcast too. Yeah. I'm not a fan. It looks like bad AI CGI generated art, and I know there was an artist that took care of this.
Sure. Yeah.
It's I get what they were going for. They were kind of going for that old school claymation style.
Yeah, sure.
And so I get it.
Yep.
But there is a proven track record. You could do these type of artworks really well. Pandasaurus picked up Pixies from, I forget who did it, but they had that really cool artwork with the pictures of the little pixie garden creature things that people build out of acorn shells. Another one, Sea Salt and Paper, was another one that did really well by using pictures of the thing. It's you can render this really well.
Yeah.
And what I think the problem too is because it comes down to a top-down kind of asymmetric view, and it does not work.
What I didn't like about it, and I finally pinpointed specifically why it just looks so dark and murky. You know what I mean? It's basically monochromatic. It's really just one color. The character, sure, he's kind of generic.
I don't. That's the one thing I don't really mind. Or the pot that he's stewing.
Yeah, the pot that he's brewing, it's fine.
Yeah,
but it just seems just so
it's
dark.
Lifeless.
And, lifeless in a way.
Yeah.
So there's not too much dynamic. I don't think it'll pop off the shelf.
So whenever you do Days of Wonder, don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine if it's just called Ticket? They don't call it Ticket to Ride anymore, just Ticket?
I don't think everybody stopped calling it Ticket to Ride.
It just has a map, and it's a dark overtone on the map.
I would not be surprised.
I call it Ticket from time to time.
I never do. It's either Ticket or TTR.
Yeah. I mean, if I said, hey, let's play Ticket right now, you would know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I would get it. Don't get me wrong, but I've never heard anybody call it Ticket other than you. Yeah, that or TTR. Let's play some TTR. Okay.
Yeah. That's when I don't feel like typing it.
Yeah. So, I get it. It's really weird. It's very lifeless. So, let's play Dom. Damn it. Dom's here? Where? But all in all,
the bad quacks. That's right.
the bad quacks. I honestly, it looks fine. The inside of it. I like how it's got the upgraded pieces for the deluxe edition.
Yep.
Instead of us having to go out there. And I'm not saying the original cover was great. It was fine. It was colorful. It did what it needed to do. But it wasn't one of those covers that are really going to draw you in, like the Planet Unknown that's sitting right behind me, or the Expedition that's right over there, where it's striking.
Yep.
It was fine, but it was way better than what they came up with now.
Yep. I agree.
All right, moving on to my next set of news here. Let's do a little bit of a fun little announcement here. It's all on the news. I really do enjoy this game. They're coming up with a new expansion for Earth. It looks really neat. More for like the animal. Oh, you had that down too.
That's fine. I have backup.
It has abundance is landing into ports, so hopefully the tariff thing won't happen. This is supposed to be going on about Earth Day, April 2025. Mm-hmm. It's going to be dealing with the Animal Kingdom for the new expansion. Yep. It's going to be crowdfunding, and what I like about it is there is going to be asymmetrical abilities for 36 new animals. So, looks really neat what it's going to do. I love the photography that they used for this game from what I've seen just on the cover alone. So, I'm looking forward to it. Again, Abundance is landing in the ports here sometime soon. It is April 22nd for crowdfunding. I think they said Kickstarter, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
And again, it's going to be called Animal Kingdom Earth Expansion. So
no, it should be really cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
that.
And
I agree with Illuminous. We should have the Earth Moon expansion.
we have that game. It's called Terraforming Mars.
That's true.
What you would be doing is terraforming the moon.
I don't know if you know astronomy, but Moon and Mars are very different.
Yes, but that's basically what you have to do for the moon. There's nothing living there.
That's true. The Moon DLC, that's right.
What are you going to do? Do tidal waves?
Right? Just shoot a whole bunch of water at it. Like, that's all you got to do, really. All right, so my next piece of news, Paolo Mori, we're a big fan of his design stuff. Did you have this on your news?
No, I know of it, but I didn't put it on my news.
So Paolo Mori is creating a new design house, and he's specifically doing it in a lot of games. From what it seems like, and I don't know if this is a guarantee, but he's creating a new design house, and he's using it to publish some of his games that he's designed that I'm assuming just doesn't quite fit, like they're a little more niche than other publishers would normally have. He has a very specific style.
He does.
He'll do 2 players or few players. His games are very entry level, which is great because they're incredibly streamlined.
Yeah, he's got an entry level area control game. He's got an entry level. What is the one that I've been playing more recently? I can't think of. Like push your luck aspect where you're Libertalia. So yeah, it's just
Libertalia. He has like Era. I think it's what. No, not Era. Caesar.
Caesar,
or Augustus.
Rise of Augustus. The other one, the war one.
Caesar. Yeah.
No, there's another war one.
Oh yes.
World War II.
Yes, Blitzkrieg.
Blitzkrieg, yeah.
Yeah. So he's a really neat designer. I'm really starting to be a fan of his stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see why he's doing his own design house and what he's going to be working with it.
Speaking of which, on my Shuffle Shame, I have the deck building Altai from Paolo Mori and Oleg Stein.
Which you and I need to try.
Yeah, we do.
I was excited to play that.
We were looking at it and it's just like, no.
That rulebook was too big for what we were capable of at that night.
Yeah.
Not that it was a big rulebook, but it was like we opened up and like, let's
play the small card game.
we got some card games to play. Yeah, so Paolo Mori, new design house.
Yeah. Speaking of which, of design house, Unexpected Games is losing Corey Konecka as its head. He's retiring as the head of the studio. He will be actually moving on and debuting a new gaming system sometime next year. 2026 is what it says. He says this is the new game is the most fun and unique he has ever created. So that's always intrigued me. I've always been a fan of Corey Konecka's stuff. And I liked what he did with Unexpected Games because he did stuff that you didn't expect in gaming.
Right.
He did
Voices in My Head.
Voices in My Head, which is a coin pusher game. I think it came out right before Sumo, Kabuto Sumo, where you're playing the coin pushing aspect of it. And I love how that works, especially it's like one versus everybody, but sort of. One person's basically leading everything. because they're the prosecutor and you're all the different voices in the head trying to get this person off, but you want them to get them off for your reasons and not their reasons.
Yep.
So that was a really unique game. Initiative was another good one, which is all talk about code breaking and cryptography and stuff like that, which is really neat. The ending was a little lackluster for me, but it's kind of.
Did you finish playing the whole? I have not finished it yet.
I enjoyed it, but the story was really good. I just didn't feel the ending really hit with the way you would want to, especially as many campaigns games as we played in Legacies.
Yeah. 3,000 Scoundrels.
3,000 Scoundrels, the only one I haven't played, but it's really unique. It's a fun take on card crafting that you don't see a lot. Plus, it's a sci-fi western, which is fantastic. It kind of gives you that Firefly feel.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, he will be leaving, I think, relatively soon. He is retiring as the head, and he's got a new system that's coming out in 2026, so good luck with him. I'm a big fan of his stuff, so let's see what happens.
Yep. The next piece of news I have, they finally have announced a new Legendary, which I was, 50-50 on. I didn't mind playing Legendary. I thought it was a little convoluted for what it was doing.
Especially when they had that stupid rule where it's co-op, but whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. It's
right. You either all lose or whoever one person wins.
One wins. Right? It's like, what is the point of that?
And nobody ever played it, right?
Nope.
And then they made encounters.
Which is the better system.
Yeah, which is a better system because it's like scenario-based, right?
And it's full cooperative. You don't have to worry about the things. And what I like about it is the bad cards come in face down.
However, this has the Game of Thrones license on it.
Oh, of course.
And every time I see a Game of Thrones, I never realized how much I was going to be this big into Game of Thrones board games. So I've played the vast majority of them.
I've played almost all of them. You know what my favorite one is? Hand of the King.
Oh, Hand of the King? Yeah, the tiny one.
The tiny little Bruno Cathala card game.
I mean, did you ever play Cosmic Encounter?
I played Cosmic Encounter. I know the
there's the Iron Throne, which is based off of that.
Yeah.
Did you like Cosmic Encounter or no?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. That does a really good implementation of it, I think. But it's not that bad.
I like Game of Thrones. I'm probably a bigger fan of Game of Thrones than you are because I've read the books and watched the TV show. Sure. I'm not a fan of much of the games. Honestly, they take too freaking long.
Yeah, Hand of the King is definitely the exception.
To the rule, yeah.
Yeah, I played one that was it was kind of like this tile laying pyramid building one.
Yeah.
That was awful. It was really bad.
So I want to see how they do the deck building aspect of this one because how do you make that cooperative? Are you fighting the White Walkers?
Right, it could be. You're just essentially influencing other houses, trying to beat them up or gain your logic. It makes more sense in a competitive setting in a way.
So it is competitive then?
It is competitive. It's legendary. It's not encounters.
Legendaries was strictly cooperative with competitive. Who is the best?
They're all competitive games. All the legendary system is technically just a legendary or just a competitive game. Nobody plays it that way. That's all been house ruled. But technically, this is a competitive game. So, Game of Thrones Legendary, I'm looking forward to it a lot.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it is.
The fact that everybody's getting the license for Game of Thrones, and it's been off the air how long now? It's
that's why they're getting licensed.
Here's the thing. It's if it was House of Dragons, it would make more sense. That's currently on air.
Yes.
It's so
weird. And so far, I only have one game that was House of Dragons. It was pretty cool.
That was the one we found in
Funko Games.
Funko, yeah.
I got it to the table. It was all right.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so my last bit of news here is another interesting one. We were talking about the tariffs earlier. We were talking about Corey Konieczka leaving the studio. Well, a big company went out of business recently. They went into bankruptcy, Diamond Comic Distributors.
Oh, yeah.
Who also own the Alliance Distribution for board gaming side of thing, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, board game distributors.
Yep.
Well, they just recently got bought out by Alliance Entertainment. No connection there. Alliance Entertainment was their own thing. They bought out Alliance, the distributor. And what's interesting in it, they bought it in the bankruptcy auction for Diamond. No word of what they paid, but at minimum, everybody's saying it had to be about $40 to $41 million at minimum get the cost of it. The Alliance also picked up Diamond's comic distribution as well, so they picked up both the board game and the comic sides of Diamond, so good for them. It's really neat about what's going on here that Alliance was able to get bought out and still keep around as a company. Maybe. We'll see what happens with what Alliance does with it.
Yeah.
They may have pick what they want, pick it apart, and then get done with it and write it off on taxes, but who sees? But it's good to know that there is still possibility of some way of distribution going on. And don't get me wrong, there's other distributors. Flat River Group is another one. I can't think of... there's one other big one. But yeah, with Alliance getting bought out by Alliance Entertainment...
Asmodee is a huge one, yeah.
Yeah, Asmodee is another huge one. So there's still ways we can get the games, but a lot of this is trickling down in so many ways. It's just so weird what's going on behind the scenes right now in the board gaming world.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, your last bit of news?
My last bit of news, since you stole mine, which was Earth Animal Kingdom, I'm going to just go through a list of games that I thought struck my fancy because Gamma Expo was last month, right?
Yeah.
Well, a month and a half ago now.
Yep.
And there was some games that I thought were worth looking at. I talked about some of these in my anticipated. So I'm just going to go through these lists real quick. We have Edge Quest, which is a 2-player fencing game that uses magnetic posable figures. I've seen a prototype of it in real life. One of our friends, one of the regulars, he is actually doing a preview video for it, and I got to see it at the shop, and it was actually really nifty looking.
It looks neat from what I've seen on it. Yeah,
really solid,
I just
actually.
Don't know really how it works.
Yeah, apparently it's fairly simple. There's Star Leap, which from Moko Games, frogs in space, basically. Or it's like Frogger in space.
Pop the Balloon Fending game?
Oh, yeah. Pop the balloon. No, not the one with the toothpicks, like popping the balloon. Oh, that's pretty hilarious. Cosmic Crafter.
That one looks really neat. That's coming from...
I don't remember where it's coming from.
It's not DeVere. It's Renegade, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Foam Brain is doing a new Pathfinder and Cyberpunk mystery packs now for dice sets, which are pretty cool. Pandemic Lord of the Rings was announced. Agricola Dead Harvest.
Pandemic Lord of the Rings has been around for a while. I already got it on pre-order.
Yep. I know some of these aren't the super newest. I'm just bringing them up because they look cool. Pandemic Lord of the Rings, Agricola Dead Harvest, Vantage coming out from Stonemaier. Ham Helsing.
That's the one he was talking about. That might be because they were able to get Takedo in, but the tariffs are going to hit Vantage.
Yep. We have a new code names that they said that more information will be coming out soon. Wardens.
Nobody cares.
From Level 99. There's a game called The Four Doors from Happy Camper Games, which I'm really starting to appreciate. It's a portable cooperative Matt Leacock game. Bazaar of Samarkand, which is it's a culmination of Bazaar and a game called Samarkand, which are both Sid Saction games. This is from Eagle Griffin Games. And the Bazaars of Samarkand actually has like a third different game that that was previously unreleased.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of a compilation. It's kind of weird. Moon Colony Bloodbath, which looks amazing. From Donald X.
I was going to say, did Level 99 lose their license to Exceed? I'm not sure.
I don't think so. I don't know. We can reach out and find out. Don't Burn My Village from Fireside. Misfit Heroes from AEG, who just came off their crowdfunding.
Talk about the best one from Fireside.
Ham Helsing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I said that earlier. There's a new game called The Sheep. Because what makes this interesting is you are like a sheep herder, you know? You have to take care of them and help them throughout daytime. Because at nighttime they become possessed and attack you.
Well, in all honesty, I hope it's better than the other two sheep games I played.
Yeah, probably.
Battle Sheep and Sheepy Time.
Right. I haven't played Sheepy Time.
Oh.
The Fountains from the Op, which look just absolutely incredible. Up or Down.
Hutan from the Op looks pretty good,
Hutan looks interesting. And Mega Jackpot, which is a press your luck like jackpot slot machine game. So that has my interest. So those are just some of the games that I saw announced at the Gamma Expo. And now you can look into those if any of those sounded interesting as they did in my radar. All right, let's get into today's episode. We are going to have a Chits and Giggles compare...
No.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Board Game Breakdown.
Board Game Breakdown. So I looked at my CNC for compare and contrast.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Compare and contrast, Board Game Breakdown. between Ascension and Star Realms.
Some fantastic deck builders. What I
Yeah.
find funny about this one, this is actually a good compare and contrast, and it's
Yeah.
a good thing it's not a debate because we would get into fights over this. I love one game a lot, and you love one game a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, my lightsaber's within reach, we're good. But now we're just like, hey,
Nah,
pick your... We go through these just to let you guys decide which one is best for you.
Yeah, and now if you've heard of one, you've probably heard of the other. They both work essentially kind of the same. There are some minor differences that we'll go over. But, you know, let's start by... I'll go ahead and bring up Star Realms.
Go ahead.
I'm very familiar with that one. There are 4 factions. It is a deck building versus. Everyone starts with 50 life, and your goal is to bring your opponent down to 0 life before they do that to you. The way you do that is by playing deck building style, where you're going to be playing cards that either have crosshairs on it, which cause damage to your opponent, or potentially outposts, which help shield that, or you're going to play coins. The coins are usable to purchase other cards that you gain into your deck. At the end of your turn, you discard down, you draw back up to 6 cards, and every time you reshuffle, or 5 cards, I'm sorry. Every time you run out of cards in your deck, you reshuffle the discard pile, thus making an engine. You start off only doing a couple damage for some Vipers and a few other things, but eventually by like turn 4, 5, 6, 7 even, you're hitting so much harder.
And you'll have your own unique deck compared to what your opponent's trying to do. Yeah.
Now there's a thing called a river in the middle, where there's 5 cards that are always available. When one is purchased, a new one comes out. And so they're all unique cards in the deck. There are 4 factions. Each one feels a little bit different, but the 4 colors is red, green, yellow, blue.
I'm trying to remember. There's the Blob.
The Blobs.
The Federation.
The Federation, yes. And 2 others.
I can't remember the other ones. I remember the Blob because that's the one I like playing.
Yeah, Blob is fun. Blob is the green one that just like does some wild damage, right? You know, it's really silly. All of these...
Is one of them like no, Commanders is an expansion, right?
Yeah, Commanders are expansions. Yeah. And so originally this came out in a small deck box that could play 2 players, and you had some cards that would kind of talk about what life total you have. So you'd be exchanging cards in and out, and you could buy 2 sets and combine them and play 4 players. Then they later came out with a better version that included both the smaller versions.
Right, so you got the Trade Federation, the Blobs, the Star Empire, and the Machine Cult.
The Machine Cult. The machines are fun.
Those are fun.
They're very like.
I like doing the Blob and the Machine together.
Yeah, those are fun. And what's cool is that they build off each other. Each of the 4 factions do feel unique. You know, like I said earlier, the Blobs are just like all about damage, hitting hard, where the Machine like starts off kind of weak, but then they build off of each other. You can heal a lot of times.
And a lot of I think if I remember correctly, the Machine allows you to thin your deck too.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of manipulation and stuff. But then sometimes you'll have these cards that are sideways. You play some face down, or you play some face up in front of you. They're called outposts. They're cards that effects take every single turn. But there's, bases, not outposts. Outposts is a version of a base. So there's regular bases that your opponent can attack and destroy, or there are outposts which they must attack and destroy before they can damage you. So it's kind of like a shield that's always there. The other bases, they can stay in there as long as your opponent wants them to, but they're pretty annoying, so they'll probably get rid of them pretty fast.
Yeah. I'm doing like 10 damage. I'm going to do 5 to that to get rid of it, 5 to you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very streamlined. It works really well. They have a slew of expansions, and that's why we're comparing it to Ascension.
And Ascension, a lot of what you just described for Star Realms fits Ascension as well. You have a river cards. The big difference here, and we'll get into more when we get into the compare and contrast act of it, is Star Realms is a head-to-head battler. This one, you are competing for the most points. You're doing that by either buying cards that some of them will have points on them, or you're defeating monsters in the river, as we called it earlier, for the deck of cards that are in the middle, and you defeat those monsters, and you get rewarded by getting how many points they give you. It could be anywhere from 3 to 5, sometimes more than that, depending on which expansion you're playing. Same concept. It has 4 factions. You have the Mechanist, the Lifebound, the Void, and the... What is the fourth one? So... I'm trying to remember.
It has been a while
since
I've played it.
So it's Mechanist, Lifebound,
I'll check while you're doing
Void,
that.
and I can't remember what the fourth one is, but it is Enlightened. That's what they are. The Enlightened.
Yeah. That's right.
So those are the four. And the same thing. You're building the deck. They play off each other really well. So if you build your deck to be a bunch of mechanists, they play really well. They have constructs as well, comparative to the outposts,
Yep.
which allows you to do certain things. They don't block damage coming in because you're not fighting the other player. You're fighting the monsters in the row. You're competing through a mountain of pool of points. And once you go through all those points, you can keep playing the rest of that round, and you can take extra points. You always have just a pool. So I think it's like 120 points if in a two-player game at the maximum. And so you're just playing that out until someone collects the last one there. And you'll still be able to collect points. Once you're done, count up the points, and the winner is the highest score. Very straightforward, very simple. Everything about it plays a lot like Star Realms. You have the river, you have the deck building aspect, 5 cards, you have basically 10 cards to start out with. It's 5 money, and I think actually, yeah, it is 5 cards, because I remember that much, but I think it's like 8 money and 2 attack is what you start out with. So you're either buying cards or you're attacking cards. What I like about it too is that to make it go faster, you also have cultists. That if you always have 2 attack, you can attack a cultist, and you're always just going to generate points. This way you don't have attack going to waste in a sense. You can always buy cards. They play well off each other, and both of these games really are very straightforward in how easy it is to read the iconography on this one. They give you the text, so anybody, as long as they're able to read English or whatever set you're reading, works for them. They can read that because it is some text heavy, not a lot, but basically explains what the card does.
Yeah.
But all in all, both games play very similar. I like that aspect of them. I personally, prefer Ascension.
Just because I prefer Star Realms.
Yeah, I go to town on Ascension. Like I've made someone rage quit on the app one time.
Which, by the way, both of them have free base set apps.
Yeah, and you can just buy the expansions if you want to. If not, the base set is all you need, and it's perfectly fine.
Yep. So really, you could just ignore everything we're about to say and just go download both
test it out yourself.
Test it out. But you're here for a reason, so let's carry on. We're going to start first with game immersion, and we're going to compare the game immersion between the two. As you said, one is kind of like a dark fantasy. Star Realms is more of a sci-fi, generic sci-fi. Let's get into our gamer criteria. So, you ready?
Yep. Just gotta pull this up. All right, so starting with me. Wow, you pulled that coin out again. I keep thinking it's I call it the Hamilton coin. It's not Hamilton by any means.
I'll change it to a different coin for the next one.
So game immersion is the game fun to lose. Both of these are fantastic. I have no problem losing in any one of these games.
Yeah.
Both of these have player interaction. There is more so in Star Realms because you are attacking another player.
Yes.
So there is that as well.
Yep.
You also have memorable moments. Both of these have those stand-up memorable moments. And like I just mentioned it a minute ago when I was playing Ascension, the person I was playing with online, we were playing with everything, the expansions, and there was a certain card in there. He was winning on the point system. I was buying a lot of high-powered cards.
Yep.
But I killed a thing that immediately put all the pool back together.
Yep.
And so I started racking up points based on everything I could do, and the dude literally quit the game because I restarted in a sense because I defeated that one thing.
Yep.
So both does lead to memorable moments. Another thing that I want to say they both do really well is that they're both fun when it comes to the faction play, and that's what I like about it. Is like the Blob plays really well with the Blobs, but they also play really well with. We just forgot what they are, the Mechanist or whatever the Machine Empire or whatever it's called. They play really well and they synergize really well together. Same thing in the Ascension. The constructs, the mechanic construct, Makana is what they're called, play really well with the voids. The void are the same thing where they're all about getting through your cards, whereas Makana is working with all the other Makanas and getting you points. So much so that some of the expansions, they have cards that are Makana and void or Makana and lifebound so that you can start working with the other sets. So you're not just tied to like, I really got to go heavy in Makana, so every time a Makana card comes up, I got to buy it, and your opponent's like, nope, I got to take that away from you kind of thing. And so both of these have that where you feel clever when you have that engine firing perfectly. So it's kind of hard for me to make a like which one I like more when it comes to that, because they both give that game immersion. You really feel clever. Mind you, you're not getting into the theme of it.
No,
most deck builders
are that thematic.
I think the most thematic deck builder, and normally we'll do this at the end of the segment, is probably the Star Wars deck building, because you're fighting other opponents in the river, and it attacks the opponent that your opponent wants to pick up. So that's the only thematic one. Most of the other deck builders in all deck building don't really come out super thematic.
No, very much not. So yeah, game immersion, like you were saying, Star Realms, the biggest thing about it, like they both have those memorable moments, but there is more player interaction in Star Realms, right? This is as cut and dry as it can be. For game immersion, if you're a Euro gamer, if you're trying to game for the most points, if you prefer that, Ascension is your game. If you'd rather have kill things with dice, Ameritrash,
or you're coming along from like say something like Magic the Gathering.
Exactly. Star Realms would be your
that head-to-head battler.
Yep, exactly. And we're going to be talking about other games that we could recommend. I have found that Star Realms works really well for Magic players because they appreciate that. I don't think Ascension would work as well, although I think like they would still get it. I think there's something about the head-to-head nature of Star Realms that just really helps it out.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that if you're coming for that straight Euro side, hands down, if I'm going to recommend a deck builder for someone who's coming from the Euro, it's going to be Ascension. If I'm saying, hey, you're Magic the Gathering, this is where you should go.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So let's get into art and production. Here we go.
Oh, that's me again.
That's you. Yep.
You changed the coin, so I was like...
that's heads. Yeah,
art and production. The art, pieces of components, and graphic design. Both of these score high on the graphic design.
Yep.
Everything is readable. Everything is legible. The art has gotten better in Ascension.
Yes.
It started off very rough, but
it did.
Anything you pick up nowadays, it's got fantastic art.
Yes.
Both pieces and components are great. I'd like Ascension a little bit more because you get those plastic gems and stuff like that.
Sure.
You don't really get much other than... and my big issue is originally with Star Realms, and it worked. You had the card.
Yeah.
That was your life points, and you're messing around. And
well, you used to have a pack of cards.
Yeah.
You used to have ones that say, oh, you have this much life. You had that.
Yeah.
And so you're like, all right, hold on, let me break change for how much life I have.
Exactly.
That was the 2-player version. When they went to the 2-card system with the single digit and then the tens value, that was much
It was a little bit better. Not great. I'd rather have like a... And again, coming from Magic the Gathering, a turn-down dice.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work perfectly for this game. I know they keep the price point down. They don't want to put that die in there. But that's neither here nor there. The art is both fantastic in these games. If you can see, I have a Star Realm slightly right behind me over here, over my shoulder. The art in that one is probably one of the worst ones. It's not great by any means, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
But my issue is, like, if you can find an original version of Ascension, be aware that is by far one of the worst arts you would find in a board game. Mind you, they updated that art with their 10th anniversary edition about 5 years ago, actually. I think it came out around 2020 before the lockdowns. So if you find a copy of the 10-year anniversary, that is a perfect jumping on point for you. Both have really good component quality. Both have really good art. Both, and again, I say this respectfully, both score high on the graphic design.
Yes.
Because they're both legible, because they're both readable, and there's no colorblind issues with either one of these. So fantastic on them for that.
Yes, they're very focused on that. Yeah, piece of components, I got to give the pieces and components to Ascension, of course, right? If this was a competition, that would get it, just because the plastic gems are cool, right? Yeah. You don't have anything like that in Star Realms. You don't need it, but again, it's still pretty cool. Whereas the art is just absolutely fantastic in Star Realms.
Oh, and not just that, because Ascension has some of the sets have dice in them.
Yeah,
they have another like a third type of gem in there. It's called like it deals with like either the dream state or they're like dream cubes. They're little round like golden egg kind of things. It's really neat what they did. For this sort of stuff, but it's nothing. They're not really important unless it's for that set. So, but I I actually use those when I'm not even using that set for a whole other reason, which we'll get into when it comes to the replay value.
Yeah, one thing I do like about Ascension is that it is that dark fantasy, right? Like, it doesn't make it sound like, I mean, like, the main, like, punching bag, right, is a cultist, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of creepy, right? And you have the Enlightened, and so it has some tones to it that you normally wouldn't get in just traditional generic fantasy.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you want traditional generic fantasy, go to the Hero Realms, which is the fantasy version of Star Realms.
Yeah, and
there are differences in that.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't say it just strictly fantasy. I call it like a sci-fi fantasy because you have the mechanic.
Yeah, the mechanic. Yeah, that's fair. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's hard to pick what it is, but it has its own niche, right?
Yeah.
But art and production, I feel like, if you like Magic the Gathering, like, okay, here's gonna be my comparison. Let's say you're a Magic the Gathering player. If you like the new sets and like the really beautiful art that they've had pristine, Star Realms, right? If you're an old school Magic player, like, and you're okay with like some Djinns that had like a lopsided eye or something, you know, Ascension is fine.
If you find the first edition, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That had some creepy tones to it, so there you go. And yeah, the new sets, the new Turkir set, I've actually been looking at that. It looks pretty cool. Battling dragons and stuff is pretty dope. All right, next one we have is Meaningful Choice. Here we go. That'll be me. So, Meaningful Choice.
You're going to do it for every category, aren't you?
I'm just trying to help. Meaningful Choice means impact on other players, depth of strategy, tactics, or skills, and do arbitrary choices or AP impact the game. This is, like, if we were comparing the two, this is the one that would destroy Ascension. And there's one big factor, and the reason why I've always picked Star Realms over Ascension, I know we're not, like, comparing the two as which is better, but one of the big things about...
What's funny is I'm going to disagree with you on this one.
I know you are. But one of the big reasons why I got rid of my Ascension and stuck with Star Realms is that since your opponents are your punching bags, you're not beholden to like the river showing you what you need to have. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say I cater my deck to doing a lot of damage in Ascension. Well, the problem is that if there's no monsters and all I have is cultists, I could do a whole bunch of damage, but I'm getting, like, you know, a small handful of points just because there's no actual monsters out there. And vice versa, right? Let's say you're really focused on building up that engine, getting really good cards, and it's just nothing but monsters, and there's nothing you can do to wash them out. The Star Realms does not have that at all. There's never going to be a point where you're like, I just got nothing to do. That would pertain to that. So, with that being said, though, while I believe Star Realms is more balanced in that aspect, having that imbalance makes it more exciting in a way. So, like, I'm going to use a weird example. Pokemon the trading card game. The way it worked, like, one of the things that a lot of people liked and disliked about it is at the beginning of the game, you would take six cards from your deck at random and put them face down, and those were essentially prizes. Those were cards that were removed from your deck. You had no idea what they were. You have no idea what they were going to be. But the fact is... Illuminous, I'm still doing it. I'm sorry. The fact is that even if you had a fundamentally better deck, there's no guarantee that you're going to pull off the victory because of those cards that are put down there. Mm-hmm. Now, what that means is that if I'm playing Ascension and you build a really powerful deck for damage, and I'm being way more strategic and I'm playing a better deck for building my engine. Mm-hmm. If more monsters come up, though, that's a catch-up mechanism for you. Yeah. But it is random, and there is no control over that per se. Now, that's just why I say it that way. It is more exciting in a way, but at the same time, and Illuminous disagrees with me too, and I know you're holding back, and I appreciate you. That's some of the things that you can... If you're okay with, like, rolling a die and having that be fairly deterministic on an outcome, like a really big outcome, then that's going to be more for you. You would like the excitement in Ascension more.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I like Star Realms. I think it's a fantastic game. What I like more in Ascension, I can play it with a bigger group. I think Star Realms, when it sings at its purest, is a 2-player game, straightforward. You don't want to play it at 4. You don't want to play it at the bigger groups, just because it sings, and it was built to be a 2-player game.
Yep.
Ascension was built to be a multiplayer game, not just 2. It plays well at 3. It plays well at 4.
Yep.
I love that aspect of it.
I don't think it plays well as 2. For the same reason why you don't like Gizmos as 2, because it doesn't cycle enough.
But I could, but it sits itself well even at 2.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because I get what you're saying. Yeah, the monsters are really heavy, or the cards are really heavy. They have ways around it. You can nickel and dime in the cultist, which is fine. It sucks that you can't really cycle it out. You know how you fix that? You have the 2 cards that are sitting up front. One is either buy or one is either attack. You have the heavy infantry, and I can't remember what the other card is off the top of my head. I got a picture of them in my head, but I can't think of their name. But that one gives you more buy, so you can get a lot more money once your deck starts to cycle, and you can start clearing that part of it out. And they're worth points at the end of the game. And you have the heavy infantry, which are double the attack of what your regular attack is. So you can start using them to help go after the monsters in there. You can start setting up your deck and pivot pretty well to cycle what you need to do. And the fact of the matter is, you can attack the cultists, you're still able to get your points, and you can pick those cards up, and they're still worth a point each in your deck.
Sure.
So there is a perfectly good way to pivot. There is a problem with Star Realms from time to time, and I've faced it with the one right behind me, and I faced it with other ones for a runaway leader. If his cards just start synergizing a lot better because you decided, okay, I'm going to go Commander or Federation really easily, and now the deck is not really dropping those cards, but his blob system is coming up, so I'm like, okay, I got to start picking up the blob, but I don't have enough to trigger the secondary blob effects and stuff like that, that you're gonna kind of stuck too. So it's both of them have that arbitrary choice when it comes to the way the deck plays, because I've been into that. Especially in that one right there when I played the 2-player game with G.A.M.E.R, I got stuck because the stuff that I was going for, the Klingons, I just couldn't get them in my deck because it wasn't coming up out of the river. So I had to go, okay, well, let me try to do it. I think it is the other one from Discovery. I forget what they're called. But they're basically like the Federation or something like that. So you basically are trying to pick their cards up to help shed your cards and see what's going on. Mm-hmm. But even then, his Federation cards were coming up. His I think the Vulcans or the Romulans, I can't remember which one, whatever one he was using, they were coming up, and he was able to get all these extra cards and just pop, hit me. Mm-hmm. So often there was nothing I could do because my cards just weren't singing because the cards that I was trying to set up with weren't coming up. So both of those have that problems. There's a way around it in Ascension where there really isn't a way around it. You can
there is. There's
you could buy those
cards,
the Explorer cards, but again, they're not really. At least I could still get points by hitting cultists. I can't do any damage to him if I'm not getting those cards out, especially if I'm not getting enough damage to take out one of his outposts and stuff like that. And he's getting like these big, powerful outposts out there, and I'm only doing 2 pot shots at it every time.
Yep. So, and it doesn't stay, right?
Yeah.
It's not sticky damage.
So it's just it's a bit rough in that kind of aspect. So I like Ascension more, one, because it plays better. I actually am fine with it at 4 players. I've played it multiple times at 4 players, and it does really well. Because if you just want to play a shorter game, give a shorter a pool. Make sure there's enough for everybody, but put a shorter pool. As if instead of 10 or 20 per person, 5 or 10 per person if you just want to play a quick game of it. Yep. It's fantastic. Also, you don't have to put all the expansions together. You could just play the base set, one of the base sets, and it works really well. So for me, I think Ascension's a little better. Both are very simplistic, and if you know deck building, you know how this works. If you're coming from the Dominion type of frame or any of that nature, or what is the other one? Legendaries, we mentioned at the top. Yep. If you're coming from those, you're very familiar with this mechanism.
You're jumping over to ease of play.
Oh, sorry. Meaningful choice. Impacting other players. Impacting other players are... we just went over all that. So depends on where you want to come from on that aspect of it. Both are very depth strategy, tactics, or skill. And the main thing is, like, how do you want to build your engine? So how do you want to combine your cards to work properly? Both those do those things. And we've acknowledged that both games are stuck with when it comes to arbitrary choices. However, both games are pretty quick on how you play your game, so you don't
Yes.
really have a lot of AP in this.
No.
So
Definitely
there's
not.
that.
Now, I was going to say one other thing that I do remember is that what's interesting about it's a double-edged sword with Ascension,
Yeah.
right? A lot of like destroying monsters will give you a boon for like destroying
Yeah, they have
them,
powers
right?
as well.
They will either give you points or they will let you draw cards or they'll give you more currency to buy. I forget the gems or whatever they're called to buy but currency,
Energy.
right? Energy. Yeah, and so they give you all these buffs. But what happens is like in Star Realms, you just make a pool of what you got, activate all the cards, make the pool, then you go, okay, where's the damage going? Where's my money going?
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, there's a lot of times where it's like, okay, cool, I'm going to deal some damage, which let me draw a card. Oh, it gives me this, which let me do this, right? And then I've found that I get lost, like, sometimes. Now, you're an expert at it. You don't, right? You won't.
No.
You play it fast enough where it's like, you have that synergized in your brain.
I remember
you
when we
around.
played the
But
10th anniversary.
I do remember that was a factor when I first played. I was like, wait a minute, did I draw this card? I beat him up, but, like, did I also get the money for this, or did I already spend it yet? You know, and that was a little...
Yeah, I
was a
remember
little
when we
more
played
vague.
the 10th anniversary on one of my picks and stuff like that. And everybody's like, okay, I did this, I make sure I got everything done.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, boom, 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 okay, my turn's over. He's like, what the hell? I'm like, I play this a lot, guys.
Yeah. Like, John plays like, all right, and it's your turn. Oh, it's my turn. Okay. Oh, jeez. You know. Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Oh, beat that, take that.
But
get
you
that
know what I'm
money.
saying.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that was one little thing. Whereas, like in Star Realms, you just build a pool and dump the pool, right? A little less exciting though at the same time. All right, now we got ease of play.
That I jumped ahead of.
Yeah. Here we go. So that'll be yours.
That's mine, yep. The ease of play, simplicity, and familiarity of the mechanism. As I mentioned earlier,
Yeah. As you previously
you
mentioned.
know where this is going. And so
Yeah.
you know how to play deck builders. Case in point, Dominion, Summer
Yeah.
Camp, or whatever you were thinking of.
They're functionally
Very similar. You draw
Yes.
cards, you have a hand of cards, you play that cards out, you do what it basically tells you. You either attack or you get money.
Yep.
The likelihood to get to the table, based on the mechanism, of course, deck builders are really going to have a good shot to come to the table.
Yep.
I'm kind of cooling on deck building, not as often. I find myself going back more to like stuff like Ascension and some of the older games that just hit a little bit better. But the theme, this one is like you pick your poison, because a lot of these, all the Ascensions are basically the same theme. You always have Mechana and stuff like that. It's that sci-fi fantasy. So if you want a sci-fi fantasy game, there you go. Star Realms, you have, again, pick your poison. You have the sci-fi, you have the fantasy, you have Star Trek. If you want to try it, there's the Cthulhu one if you can find it.
We want people to stay in the hobby.
It's there if you want to slog through it. It's a bit of a chore.
It's a thing.
And both games are easy to understand and teach. I've actually taught Ascension to a lot of people. I've taught Star Realms to quite a few people as well.
Yeah.
Both of them are straightforward. It's like you play out your hand, see what happens based on what you're doing here. I think Ascension's just slightly more because you have to follow what's going on in the river. And as you were mentioning, when it comes to I did this, now this allows me to draw, I do this.
Yep.
That is a slight step above Star Realms when it comes to that teaching and stuff like that. That is the only knock for me on this one. But yeah, again, if you're coming from like the Euro side, if you play something like Dominion, I think Ascension would be right up your alley.
Yeah, that's fair. And I would say, as far as this, if you're coming from a Magic background, ease of play, it's a lot easier to play, but it gives you that construction happiness.
Yeah, and that's the thing about deck builders. If you're coming from LCG or TCG or something like that, you're very familiar with this, and you'll get that comfort of building your engine, how you want to build it in your deck.
That's right. Cool. Shall we go on to the last category?
Let's go into the last category, because this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, replay value. Here we go. That'll be
All right, that'll
be you.
That'll be me, yeah. Length and time and scaling well. Minimum numbers of plays for the full experience. And here's the fun one, expandability. Which means already existing expansions up to one future expansion, yada, yada, yada. We've been over this a lot of times.
Yep.
Length and time and scaling well. Both of these games are fairly short if you get into it.
Yes.
I think Ascension plays a little bit longer. It all depends on your point pool. Sometimes you can make it a shorter game. Sometimes you can make it a longer game. It does scale well. I think, like I said, I was telling you earlier, I like it better at 4 players than I do Star Realms at 4 players. It just feels a little quicker. I have played multiple games of both games. the minimum number of plays for the full experience. Base games alone, it's going to take a while for you to, because most cards, some have shares, some are similar, but a lot of them are different. And learning how to play each and every one of them, it's going to take you a little bit. But when it comes to expandability, why don't you tell the people what you did in your research?
So we looked into the number of expansions, and according to Board Game Geek, and this is not talking about integrates with like other versions of the base set.
Yeah.
But it did include all the promos and all the current expansions. Ascension has 73 expansions, including like different titles of promos on it.
Yeah.
Huge amount.
Yeah.
Barely beating out Star Realms, 73 expansions.
What?
What? How did you get it that similar? Like, I mean, I know we're trying to compare and contrast, but where's the contrast part? No, but we did find out that there's multiple base versions of Ascension, right?
Yeah, I think we saw
there's more
7 or 10,
spin-offs
like
of Star Realms, which are like Hero Realms, Star Trek Realms,
Cthulhu
Realms, yeah.
Big thing about the Ascension 2 when we're talking about the standalones.
Yes.
They're expandalones.
Yep.
You can integrate them, and they will synergize with a current deck. I don't recommend it unless you're playing in the app where you can play with everything.
Yes.
Because you're going to have a stack like from the floor to here.
Yeah.
It's like 10,000 cards or something like that. It is ridiculous how much are in there. Yeah. So don't do that. What's even really cool too, they just recently had an expansion on GameFound or Kickstarter for Ascension, where you can actually get a box where will hold everything, and you could just pick up the card expansions for everything else. So yeah, it is a fantastic looking thing, and it has a collector's board that is magnetic and it goes together. This way, if you want to play with everything, you can. I don't recommend it unless you're playing with the app because it does a lot of the cleanup for you.
Yep.
But all in all, both have a lot here. Both scale very well to an extent. The length of time, you're going to get Star Realms done better and quicker if you play it at 2 players. It will take a little bit longer if you're doing the pot shot across everybody's bows. Ascension works much faster at 4 players. Minimum number of plays for the full experience, as I mentioned, there's a lot of cards. There's a lot. And expandability.
73.
And that's just the promos and expansions. Not to mention all the expandalones or standalones. So, with that being said...
well, let's give some recommendations. So, here's the thing, right? There's also been spin-offs. So, Star Realms has a couple different spin-offs. If you prefer Star Realms, or Star Realms sounds like your preferred game, but you want something that's, maybe a little bit more Euro style, they made Hero Realms. Hero Realms...
how is that Euro style?
Because there's a cooperative mode for it. So
how is that Euro style?
It really is more... I see what you're saying. No, I'm saying since it's more friendly, since it's more campaign-driven, it feels like a D&D thing. And that's something that they did very differently than Star Realms. That was one of the cool things about it. The Ruins of Thandar, or whatever it's called.
Yeah. It was really neat. I went through the whole system. I didn't go through the second system.
I went through all the Hero Realms. It was really fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot. And they really focused on the combat stuff. Whereas if you're a fan of Ascension sounds good, but you want more player interaction, there's Shards of Infinity, which is from the same designer.
Yeah, I haven't played that one, so I can't really give that recommendation, but I do own it.
Awesome. We should just fix that right now. We should play it. It's so fast. And that ramps up. It's a head-to-head version of Ascension, basically, except you also can upgrade your cards in it, which is really nifty.
I also want to make one big thing about both of these games that they have in common. Both of these games put their companies on the map.
Yes.
Stoneblade for Ascension, and now it's Wise Wizards Games, which originally was White Wizard Games. So yeah, these are evergreens. They put their companies on the map. So
absolutely.
That's how good they were.
Yep.
People look at Stoneblade like, okay, let's see what else they're coming up with. Same with Wise Wizard Games now.
Yep. So as far as the game immersion goes, I would say which would you recommend between those two?
For what?
Game immersion between Ascension and Star Realms.
Oh, for the game immersion? For me personally, it's going to be Ascension.
Yeah.
And it's because I like that Euro style where you're just trying to get your points and aspects.
It's you versus the game.
Yeah. And the big thing about it, so my recommendation, like if you like Dominion, this is where you would go for when it comes to a deck building game that gives you a little more attack power.
Yep. Now, for art and production, I'd recommend Star Realms.
I agree with you on that.
Ease of play, I also recommend Star Realms because of just the very small minor differences. Meaningful choice could be either one.
I say Ascension for myself.
Yep, and then replay value, they're the same game.
I will say Ascension just for the fact that not just the bases, but also that they can integrate. And so, like, if there's one expansion base that I enjoy a lot, it's called the Dawn of Champions, which integrates really well with the other stuff, but that is a fantastic starting point for you as well, because it gives you a little something to work for, because you're trying to get your champion to your tableau. And so, hey, I got the Mechana champion, then maybe I should concentrate on Mechanas. That for me is the perfect starting point when you're teaching Ascension as well, because it's like, okay, this is basically telling you what you should work for because you want this guy on your board. I like that aspect of them, but yeah, they're really good games out there.
And the final recommendations, again, if you're okay with head-to-head, but you like the sci-fi, Star Trek, Realms.
Yeah, Star Trek Star Realms is what it's called.
Star Trek Star Realms, or Star Wars the deck building game. Both of those feel really good. Whereas if you prefer more of the Euro mechanism, Dominion is definitely an option.
Dominion is an option for you. Also, if you want more of the Ameritrash feel that you will get for Star Realms, you can do the Legendary Encounter system. You can do the Legendary system, just don't play the competitive mode.
Because we talked about at the beginning.
It doesn't make sense for superheroes. I'm trying to think another one, if you want another Euro-y style, but it's very simple. Summer Camp is a good one, if you can find a copy of it.
Valley of the Kings.
Kings
would be another good example of that.
Exactly. So there's your choices. You can make your decision which one fits you better. Like I said, if you're coming over from Dominion, or heck, even right behind me, Dice Realms, the dice forging game. That is if you want to try deck building, that would be a good one for you as well.
That was just a chance to flex one.
Yeah.
Let's be real. All right. Well, we want to thank you for tuning in. If you ever want to join us on a live episode, or email us directly, you can email us at everydayboardgames2020 at gmail.com. Whether that's to give us ideas for future episodes, enter in possible contests, or to just say hello. We also have an Instagram, instagram.com/everydayboardgames, where you can see some of the posts of what we've been playing lately together, or some of the silly stuff that I've been posting lately. Which is kind of silly, just shenanigans.
I've been mainly posting games.
Yep.
Lots of them.
I played a lot of games this past week, and I didn't post a single one of them.
Yeah, you suck. All video re-uploads and reviews are found on YouTube under youtube.com/@everydayboardgames. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe if you're not, like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject.
We also stream our episodes live at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames. So feel free to come on in, join us in on the chat, voice your opinions during the episode. We love hearing from our friends, like our friend Illuminous, or anybody else who joined us in our chat today.
Also, that's a way to enter contests, too, so listen for that in the future episodes. All audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and Apple.
So I want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.